Hello, Glam Fam. We are back and we are glad to be back. And Lily wants to say hi to everybody and to show you just how big I'm getting, she says, just how big I'm getting. But anyway, stay tuned. Tonight I'm going to be telling you some stories of my childhood up to the age of 15. It's going to be part 1. I've got part 2, maybe part 3. But stay tuned, guys, and I'll be right back, and we're going to start our story. Alrighty, guys, I am back. Now, I just need to make one little announcement before I get to my story time. And that is, if you guys would like to see me live, I go live on a friend of mine's channel. Her name is Allie's Magical Insights, and I go live with her every Saturday at 4 o'clock my time. Now, she lives in New York. I live in Illinois. So the New York time would be 5 o'clock. I don't know if it's Eastern, Western, I don't know that stuff. But my time is 4 o'clock. So you guys probably know more about that than I do. So we are going to get started on story time. Where do I want to start? I think I will start first of all. Let's see if my glasses are clean. First of all, I want to tell you that I have 4 brothers and 2 sisters. So altogether we had a family of 9. But tonight I'm going to talk about a little bit of my childhood years and what it was like. This will be part 1. So I'm going to try to make it a little fast. So I've got some notes. You know I always do notes. Okay. Now I think what I want to start with is when I was in 1st grade. 1st grade. Now, in 1st grade, at 1st grade now, guys, I had a crush on a little boy. He had a crush on me too, I guess, because we went and sat on the merry-go-round on our recess, and we were sitting together on the merry-go-round, and we were out on PE, and he sat there by me and stuff, you know, and it kind of slowed down a little bit, you know, and all the kids was running in. And before we went in, he gave me my first kiss on the cheek. And that was my first little boyfriend, okay? Don't want you guys to think I'm boy crazy now. I was a little back then, but 1st grade, no. Okay, so now we're going to move on up to my 5th grade. We're up to the 5th grade. And in 5th grade, I was in, you guys probably never heard of the school, but anyway, the name of the school is Raccoon School. And we had this teacher. And we had honorary boys at that age, you know, our class and everything. We had this teacher. Well, anyway, we'd have our classes and stuff in there and stuff, you know. And then it would be study hall. Well, so we, you know, was supposed to be quiet. It was quiet in there, and we'd all be studying and stuff. His name was Mr. Shaw. And Mr. Shaw, every time he would, you know, we'd go to study hall in the class, he would sit there and fall asleep. He'd fall asleep. So, you know what them boys did? He was in a chair with rollers on, okay? So the boys would wait. 2 or 3 boys, they just wait till they heard Mr. Shaw starting to snore. You know, kind of like that. And then them boys, they'd sneak up there real quiet. One would open the door to the room real quiet. 2 or 3 others, you know, they kind of get on the sides of the chair and they slowly push him out in the hall. They push him on out in the hall. Well, anyway, he wouldn't wake up for a little bit. And, I mean, he didn't wake up when the boys was pushing him out there. And then I guess after he's out there for a little bit, He'd wake back up. He'd come back in. Never said a word to us or nothing. He just went along with it. But anyway, I thought that was a funny thing at that age. It was funny. Now, we're going to move on up to my sixth grade year. Now, in sixth grade, we moved to another school district. And in this school, what you did was, for different classes, it's kind of like high school, I guess, in a way. You would go to like different classes, different subjects or whatever, you'd move to another room. It just depended. So, I don't know. It was strange. But anyway, in sixth grade, I think there was maybe 2 sixth grade in that school, 2 sixth grade separate. I think it's just 2. Anyway, so this one little boy, his name was Chuck, and he had a crush on me, and yes, I had a crush on him too. Yes, I did. So we would hold hands and stuff out there at recess. No, we didn't kiss me on the cheek. No lips neither. No, none of that, nothing. And we held hands, and we walk around together and stuff. And then, like, when we would switch classes, he was, like, in the other group. So I knew where he sat in his class, and he knew where I sat in my class when we'd switch. So anyway, I'd sit in his desk, and he'd leave a little love note. I wish I would have kept those. He'd leave a little love note in that desk, I'd sat at his, and then mine, he always sat at mine. I'd leave a little love note in there, and that just kind of, I guess, ended. But yeah, anyway, yeah, his name was Chuck. But I did hear years later that he was supposed to have been in some kind of a wreck and he got killed. So I really didn't I hate to hear that. But anyway, now we're going to move into 7th grade, okay? 7th grade. All right. 7th grade, we had this really, really mean teacher. Her name was Mrs. I don't know if I can say her name. I guess it'd be all right. Her name was Mrs. Steinman. Now, Mrs. Steinman was really kind of mean. She was kind of mean. Well, anyway, we were in class, and she had this thing about making you write. If you done anything wrong or whatever, you had to write 100 times a sentence that pertained to that. Or sometimes it'd be 500, whatever. So one day I was sitting in class, and I think she was talking or something. Anyway, I had this girl sitting behind me. And this girl sitting behind me, poked me on the shoulder. And I looked up and I seen Mrs. Steinman, and all I did was just turn around. When she poked me on the shoulder, I turned around. And she was telling me something. Well, about the time I turned around, Mrs. Steinman looked at me and said, "Diane, write 500 times, I will not talk in class." And I said, "What?" "Write 500 times, I will not talk in class, and bring it to me. I want it tomorrow in class." And I thought, now, wait a minute. I tried to tell her that it was not me, that I did not say a word, but she would not listen. So anyway, I went home, and I told my mom. I told my mom exactly what happened, and and that is exactly what happened. Oh, well, my mom was like me when it come to her kids, grandkids. She was like an old mother hen. So Mom said, "Well, I'll tell you what, Diane, you are not going to write 500 times that you will not talk in class." And she said, "You are going to take this note to her, and you're going to give it to her." So I said, okay. So I went back to class the next day, and I give her that note from Mom, and oh my God, did she get mad. She threw that note down that trash. She said, "All right, whatever. Go sit back down." I thought, woo. But you know what? She never made me write no more. She never made me write no more. So, anyway. All right, guys. Now, we are going to go to 8th grade. 8th grade. All right. 8th grade was, your graduation year. My first graduation. And all the way up until, I don't know, probably till I hit 5th grade or so, we were pretty poor, we couldn't even afford, mom and dad couldn't afford to even buy us pajamas. We slept in t-shirts or whatever. And, but anyway, by the time I got in 8th grade, it was, financially wise, it was getting a little better. And, so mom let me pick out my dress for graduation and my shoes and everything. And I really never had that much, for years. So what I did get, I always took care of. And so I went and picked out my dress. I'll never forget that little dress. It was white. It was trimmed in pink. And it had like puffy sleeves through here. And then it had it buttoned right here on the band. And then it was kind of puffy, through here. That was the style back then. Okay, guys, that was the style. And it went, I think, to my knees. It's just a straight dress, kind of, and it went to my knees. And then I got to pick out my shoes, which they were black patent shoes. I'm sure you younger guys probably really don't know what that is, what kind of shoes that is. But us older ladies probably will. But it was black patent shoes where it had the black stripe. You had the kind of like the open top foot. And you just had a black strap going across it. And then around your toes, on down on the end, on the front, you had where your toes went. And you had the black shiny part of the shoes. And that's what I call patent, black patent. And I remember them things shine on a dime. And oh my gosh, I used to just clean them every day. I was so proud of them shoes. So proud of them shoes. So anyway, I graduated and, and then couldn't wait till I started high school. Because I knew high school, we would have a lot more freedom. And back then, we had open campus. And, which didn't do me no good. That was not good for me. Was not good for me to have open campus. Got me a little bit in trouble. By that time, I was kind of getting a little mouthy age, time I started high school. I was getting a little mouthy, thinking I was big stuff. That I'm cool. That I'm just cool. So anyway, now we're going to go into my freshman year. Alrighty, here we go. Like I said, I love the freedom. Love the freedom. And, and I liked it because we would walk to, you didn't have to sit in one classroom all day. You got to walk to each class and you got to meet all kinds of new people in each class because you had like, 4 or 5, maybe 4 or 5 towns that went to that same school, district. So, I met all kinds of people, and I was a very people person even then, believe it or not. Yeah. Country. So I met a lot of kids, made a lot of friends, and stuff. And a couple of friends of mine went to the grade school with me, so we were all best buds, and all the way through high school. But anyway, as far as we made it to high school. But anyway, there was 2 girls that was my best friends, and so anyway, what I liked about high school, was that. And when lunch rolled around, we would always go across the street, and there was a little restaurant there, like a hamburger joint, and then on the side, a little black, it was a room hooked onto the restaurant, but the room, it was like, back then we had like black light, they had black lights in there, they had a jukebox. The kids, if they wanted to smoke, I didn't smoke my freshman year, but, I was just starting to get a little taste. Wasn't too mouthy back in my freshman, so I really wasn't too much trouble. Not too much trouble, but I just got to know people. I just got to know people my freshman year, and I was just kind of sinking in, and all that. So anyway, then summer rolled around, and then I went back to my sophomore year. Now, here we go to the sophomore year. By then, I was real mouthy, and I thought I was hot shit, and, yeah. So, here's what happened. I got to know, like I said, a lot of kids, and when you get to know a lot of kids, and you go to school with a lot of kids, everybody seems to have their groups, you got you kind of got your higher class here, you kind of got your medium class here, and then kind of back then, we called them the lower class kind of kids here, Anyway, so I was kind of in the, well, at the lower class, though, what I meant is like the, I don't want to explain that. They were nerdy. Back then, they were nerd. They were the nerd crowd. Does that make sense? They were the nerd crowd. All right, so the crowd that I was in was kind of, like I said, it was kind of the mediocre. A little trouble here and there, not that much. But as time went on, first thing we started doing, we'd go over there to the Jimmy's Drive-In, we'd eat, and we'd get, you know, sometimes some of the kids would say, well, let's not go back to school after lunch. That's okay. I was like, okay, where are we going? Where are we going to go? Well, there was some couple kids we were running around with. Their parents worked. They worked in the daytime. So we'd sneak down there. We do that sometimes. And, you know, we didn't skip. We skipped so-so and so-so. Okay? Well, like I said, but as time went on, I got a little mouthier, okay? So, one day, we were in school, you know, we were in class, before class took up, a lot of the kids was standing in the hall, you know, and talking all that. And, you know, there's a couple mean teachers we had at that school. And one day, before class took up, a bunch of us was standing in the hall. Me and my two girlfriends and the group we hang out with, you know, a bunch of them. And she come out there, I mean, just real B, you know what I'm saying? A real bitch. And she come out there just mouthing, you know, saying, get to your classes. And the bell hadn't even rang yet, you know. She's like, get to your classes now. Well, Miss Mouthy asked me. Okay, guys. Don't like to say this word, but I'm going to say it because I'm just going to say it because it wasn't back then. When she said it about the second time, I said, fuck you. Oh, God. I don't know why I did it. I was showing off, okay? I was showing off. Well, anyway, she heard me. She didn't know for sure where she heard it. She just heard it. And she said, who said that? Well, some other kids were standing there and they all pointed. Right there. And my two girlfriends were standing there too. And she just come over there and she grabbed my arm and grabbed, I think another friend of mine, the other girlfriend of mine arm, and then told the other one to follow her. Well, anyway, so here she was kind of, I think, on the second floor. So I was going down the stairs and she had to hold my arm like this, you know, just jerking it like that. And I had a mouth and, you know, kind of pulling it. I jerked my arm back. I said, you let go of my arm. So anyway, she did. And she said, well, follow me down here to the office. So we all got to go to the office, okay? All right, we got dragged down to the office. Principal, you know, went in his office and everything. And he was getting on to us, talking to us about all that. And he's like, now back then, guys, back then, you got the paddle, okay? You got the paddle in high school. That's how bad we were. And so I had a long dress on that day. And it was, you know, it was a long dress. They called them midi. No, it wasn't midi. It was maxi. They called them maxi then. Maxi dresses. And they were long. And it was made out of this kind of like cotton-like material, you know. I don't know why I dress so fancy. I just like to do that. And so I got it first. I got the paddle first. I think I got 3 smacks, which didn't hurt. It really didn't hurt. It didn't. But my friends, my two poor friends, them girls had jeans on. I mean, had jeans. I couldn't help it. We were all in there, and we had to watch each other get paddling. So anyway, the two girls sat there. I think they were just so scared they didn't pay attention to what anything went on. But I got it. Well, anyway, so I sit there, you know, and one girlfriend got up and he held her arm and he had that big old paddle. And I'm not telling you, this paddle was like longer than my fingers can show on this camera, you know, and it was shaped like a paddle. You know, well, it reminded me of a boat oar, kind of like it was shaped like a boat oar, except it was shorter. So anyway, he got a hold of her, grabbed her by the arm, and I mean, here come this paddle, and I mean, she jumped around like a chicken. I'm sorry. I couldn't help it. I laughed so hard in there at her. I could not help it. I mean, that principal, he was so pissed. But I couldn't help it, you know. And then my other friend, she had the same thing on. And so I'll be darned if he didn't do her the same way. He grabbed her by the arm. He said, now get ready. He grabbed her by the arm. I mean, got that paddle out. And I tell you what, by that time, my stomach circled so bad, I about peed my pants. It was so funny. But anyway, after it was all said and done, we were about 15 then. Well, back then, you could quit school at 16. Even without your parents' consent. You could. Well, anyway, guys, we were so mean that we did not have to worry about quitting school because we got kicked out of school at 15 because we were the mean girls. So anyway, let me see if I missed anything on that at all. Let's see. All right, let me see if I told all that story. But let's see. Yeah, like I said, we got kicked out of school, you know, and they said, the principal, when he was kicking us out of school, well, what are you guys going to do for the rest of the year? Of course, we were smart asses, you know, and he asked me, and I said, well, I'm gonna sit around, I'm gonna watch Sesame Street. And the other girlfriend, she said, no, I'm going to watch, what was it? I think Romper Room or something back then, I don't know. That was some little thing for little bitty kids. And my other girlfriend, I forgot what she said, but we were just mouthing off, you know, and stuff. And he's like, call your parents. So, anyway, did I get in trouble? Well, honestly, by the time I got done with my mom, and I told my mama what happened, no, I didn't get in trouble because I didn't quite tell her the truth. I know. I did tell her years after. I think after I got married. But what I told my mom was that somebody else had mouthed off to the teacher, and all the kids pointed at us, and we got in trouble. I know it was wrong, but hey, I was 15 years old, a mouthy little teenager, and I was an ornery little booger, and yeah. So, tell you what, guys, that's the last of my story. Stay tuned. I'm going to come up with part 2. And that will be what I did after my after my 15th year, or after I was 15 years old. It will go on up to my probably adult years, and how I met my husband, and stuff up right before I met my husband, and all that. That will be part 2. And I hope you guys enjoyed this story. And sorry I haven't been on a lot because they're working me a lot. They really are. There's just so much of this COVID, and there's a lot of people at work that's getting it. I've been one of the lucky ones that, you know. So anyway, guys, I will see you in my next one, and have a good day. Love you, Glam Fam.